Hello guys, welcome back to yet another exciting episode right on the Gamers Talk Show. So today, vile mnaona mkiona nimeng'ara hivi, nimevaa sweta, nimechana nywele, know that the show is gonna be red hot and it's about to go down. It's another banger video. So guys, today it's your host, of course, the usual, your papa's or your mama's brother. You can call me Uncle G. So guys, today niko na wageni, leo ni wengi. So let's speed up from 10.
Well, my name's Ochango, and I don't know, I just finished college. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Any attitude? Yeah, just finished college.
My name is Victor Olaki, finally student. I'm a matter at the University of Nairobi. I take qualifications in Gender and Development Studies.
What?
Thank you. Okay. Qualifications in Gender and Development Studies.
Gender. Hey, okay. Hey, Mtwasuti.
Yes.
Mtwasuti.
Hi guys. I want first appreciate you guys for the invitation. It was very cordial. My name is Hesbon Sioko. I'm a finalist law student at the University of Nairobi pursuing law.
Lawyer.
Yes.
Okay. Later bid it to me. Yes. Now the lady with us.
Okay. My name is Lena Mati. I'm a student of law in the University of Nairobi. Yeah, in 3.2.
So you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
Jackie, you know, this is where life starts. You know, whatever we say here, inabaki hapa. We are lawyers. Unaweza maliza college upate ndani. So guys, so we are here today to talk about the loopholes in the society, like the social loopholes. So today we'll talk about the things that have been going on in social media, you know, like for the past 1 week or maybe so. Starting from there's this issue that has been trending of late about a certain lady from KU who was murdered by a sponsor. Yeah, is it MKU? It was KU, who was murdered by a sponsor, and it kind of spiked up some kind of like a backlash in the social media, whereby these two gender. This one gender that sold Jesus at 40 cents, the men, and these others that ate the fruit, they betrayed. So there was this backlash. They were trying to point fingers because the ladies were saying that men are brutal and inhuman in some way, while men were also defending their counterparts by saying that it is the lady who was at fault. Like she decided to go for someone who was older. You know, that is reflecting how, you know, the gender was in the society. So because of that, so we decided to come up with this show today to talk about all these things in general. Like for example, another issue happened, I don't know, in Kajiado, whereby some lady went missing, 28-year-old went missing, then found dead and dumped. You know, another senior officer like decided to hack the wife. You know, such things like they happen in society. Then Piona SG, a man was arrested. On being released from prison, comes home, decides to kill the wife. You know, so this is the society that we're living in. So today we are coming here to try and address these social vices in the society. So guys, let me drop the matter. The quote is now on us.
Thank you so much for calling me upon to weigh in. Actually, I respond in affirmative that in the wake of the time, there are very many rampant cases, of course, the cases of femicide, the cases of sexual violence, and the cases of gender-based violence actually in particular. And I actually say I agree the stories, the scenarios we've seen, and the problem actually is the social construct, how we as a society take issues. Of course, we can actually say the culture. For example, when such thing happens, what do people say? As in, how do we respond to that thing as a society? You get, for example, such thing happen, and instead of us objectively looking at the issue, we actually victimize that person, or the victim blaming, how we call it actually. And actually, you see, for example, the mayhem, what actually came from the stories of the late Nungari. The late Nungari actually, because of, actually, you see, all these issues are actually emotive, you get. And it turned out to be agenda violence. But then my issue is maybe it's because we actually don't understand, and we need to go to the root of all those things and ask ourselves, why is this thing happening? And I tell us all, because it waters down to the social construct of all these things. So I'll discuss further on the issues and also maybe I'll prefer the best ramification to the issues.
All right. Dave.
Well, I find this conversation very, very interesting because young men are killing women, and that is the truth, right? Young men are killing women at a very high rate, and we are noticing a trend of you know, a society where I think we are losing our souls, right? But I think, just as you said, we need to sit down as a society, you know, take some moment and reflect. What values do we really subscribe to, okay? And I'm really going to put emphasis on the issues of victimization, all right? Whenever these kind of cases happen, there is always a justified reason behind them.
Yeah, sure.
All right? But from my standpoint, where I'm sitting, I think no crime should be justified whatsoever, whether it's a man or it's a woman. All right? Everybody has a right to live. Everybody has a right to have a good time in life. And there can never be any justification why something should happen. All right? So even as we delve further into this whole discussion, I think at the end of the day, we should be able to, you know, debunk some of the issues that are affecting young people.
Yes, Lena.
Thank you. Since last year, the issues of gender-based violence and toxic relationships, or rather death that come from toxic relationships, have been on the rise. And I feel like it has reached a point such that we're already fighting. Ladies are fighting, they want this. Men are also fighting. Exactly. Like, for example, even as you've said, that men are there questioning, why do ladies go for older men? A lady will ask, why do guys go for younger women? Yet, as you can see in this case of Velvin, this guy was already married. Why would he go for someone else and yet he's married already? So I feel like right now we are operating on I don't know if I can, what I can call it. We're operating on a table of blame games. Yeah. And I hope that we can just put our differences aside and come to look for a solution. We can get solutions through establishing policies that fight against that, fight against maybe rape, that fight against gender-based violence, and that is the solution. Even if we can fight today, we can fight tomorrow, we can fight, but we'll never get a solution.
But do you think that these policies are not there?
In fact, we have policies. If you look at the Sexual Offences Act, it is very tight and very strict. In fact, people were saying that it should be amended because they think that it doesn't give rights to men. Like they feel like there's infringement of men's right to that.
So if
but now what really worries me is that even the fact that the Sexual Offences Act is so strict, we still have issues of rape and unresolved. They are not, like, there's no justice. They're not resolved. We've not resolved them. So what should we do?
Okay, you feel lawyer. Yeah. Wants to jump in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I agree. By the way, yes, we have a law which actually revolves about the issues of sexual violence or sexual crimes. But I still tell you guys that there are very many gaps in that law that exist.
Yeah.
For example, we ask ourselves, like, where does this act occur? For example, the issues of sex. And we realize people actually say that, and statistics actually have it, that most of the rape cases actually happen not just by a stranger, or most of them actually happen by a person, you know, by the people you know, you get. Yes, so the first question actually to ask ourselves, where do these things happen? And you realize even these things happen in relationships, they even happen in marriages. But then we have our act, the Sexual Offences Act, which puts it clear that there can be no marital rape. You get? They say that in a marriage context, there can be no rape because that you cannot withdraw a consent once you're married. So actually the whole problem is maybe the patriarchal society, and I'll discuss after maybe my friend.
Yes, Victor.
Gender-based violence is a national disaster in our country, and the United Nations Fund for Population Activities was doing a research on the impact of gender-based violence, and it came out clearly that gender-based violence kills and disables women between the age of 15 to 44. than it does cancer, and its toll on women surpasses that of malaria and accident victims combined. Can you imagine that kind of impact on the society? And women come in like they're like half population of the world as well. So that if there is any development that's supposed to happen, it cannot happen, because gender-based violence is a development issue as well as a human rights issue. So if you're having all these problems and vices, so we can't move as a nation. And all this is brought up by stereotypes that violence is condoned and perpetuated in the society, and then there's nobody to talk about it. A woman is supposed to be submissive, they're subjugated, and they're not supposed to question anything. It's a conversation that we really should have.
All right. Let me start with borrowing your point and your point. You're saying, okay, she's saying that the stereotype in society claims that a woman should be submissive. And therefore, according to you, the Patrick, you're kind of saying that for someone who's already into marriage, like just because you decide to put up your finger and say that, oh, I'll be with you through thick and thin, and so I do, means like the society kind of believes that there can be no rape in that conditions. No. Like kama wanajaribu kubandika like the element of consent kwa hiyo kitu ya kusema as I do. Sindio? So what is actually the way forward from this point? Because now we keep on talking about rape, you know, gender-based violence and stuff like that. Policies exist.
Yeah.
And the problem you can say that exists or lies in the implementation. So let's narrow down to that issue of now no consent is required in marriages as the society so like puts it under an umbrella of maybe say stereotypes. Yes, let's start with Lena. Atasa kesho mwoleo naambiwa huwezi niambia no my yes. How do you feel about that?
Well, first, you see, as lawyers, we always want justice. But I think we should go out there and see and try to get what the society thinks about that. I would not want to, talk on behalf of married couples, honestly. Because I will say that personally doing as a lawyer, that should be it. Like we should try and get marital consent. But also, speaking in terms of marriage, I honestly feel something different.
Yeah, it's confusing. You're kind of feeling it's a burden.
Okay, I think I have something. When you talk about consent in marriage and the Rape Act, we're supposed to ask ourselves, for example, what is marriage? What is rape? And again, what do you consent when we get to marriage?
Yeah. How
comes, for example, when a husband wants to go to visit his family without the wife, he asks the wife, can I go? You ask, by the way. The same happens to like a lady. If I want to buy something, I'll ask like, can I get this for us? And I'll say, yes, get. If you feel like you shouldn't get, then I'll give you the reasons why you should not get. How comes that doesn't happen when it comes to like the sexual acts? You get? So I think we should draw a clear line between the consent we give to marry someone and the consent that should happen when we're doing things in that marriage context. And again, when you talk about the policy, actually, the policies actually happen in the legislature, right? Mm-hmm. So you see the reason as to why we have some of the patriarchal laws is because initially we've been having most of the legislators are male. So you see these progressive laws cannot actually suffice when we have male who are actually on the ground because they know they're going to be infringed by those laws themselves. So of course, perhaps the first issue will be increase the number of female in the parliament so that they can vote on the progressive issues. Actually, while we have actually the policy very clear and maybe a law, there's still some gaps. There still exists some gaps, and one of them actually is the issue of the consent to these the marital acts, for example, sex and everything. So those are some of the acts. So we need to come clear with policies that are going to deal with those gaps.
All right. Then you have to say something.
Okay. Here's my take. I'm no lawyer, but my little understanding of consent is a yes or a no, right? then rape is defined as it's an intentional or forceful penetration of genitalia in somebody, right? Whether you are male or female, all right? So it boils down to what he was saying, all right? The kind of thinking that we have as a society today. And that narrows down to individuality and personality. When you take somebody's daughter to be your wife, or you take somebody's son to be your man or your hubby, or whatever arrangement you have between the institution of marriage or relationship or whatever it is. Because if you look at it keenly, there has been a total shift, and there's a lot of change in the dynamics around relationships today. People date for very different reasons, all right? So when it comes to marriage and the institution of all that, actually I don't understand all that law stuff. I'll leave it to them. But from a layman's point of understanding, I'm trying to imagine that I'm with somebody, and then, okay, I feel that I want to, engage, right? Yo kitembea, watu wakubwa, right? So if they say no, then as a person, it should mean something to me, all right? That their no is their no. It doesn't have to be my way, all right? And that's why I feel that is where the problem lies. We are living in a society where men don't understand women, women don't understand men, all right? Naturally, men, we are inclined to be aggressive, right? And we are not very emotional human beings, all right? But women are wired in a way that they are intuitional, and then they are also like very, how do I call it, soft, okay? So when there is that kind of misunderstanding between these two people, men don't know what women want and women need, and women also don't know what men want. You get? So I think that is the beginning of the problem. So if we can sit as a society and say, okay, fine, we are men, you are women. What do you want? What do you expect from us? And the men, we also say, we get you, right? But here is our point of view. We want you to understand us, to study us, know us, all right? So I think that there lies the problem. So when a woman tells you she's not in the mood for it,
A quick one.
all right?
And maybe a quick one to you. Maybe it's a rejoinder to your point. Actually, when you talk of consent, sometimes it's not just a yes and no. And sometimes silence communicates a lot. Yes. And maybe allow me to take you through a journey of patriarchal society, for example. You see, we live in a society where men are actually viewed as sexually aggressive and adventurous, while actually ladies are viewed as, you're supposed to be chaste, you're supposed to be compliant, you're supposed to be, as you say, they're prone to subjugation, you get. So that is our society. And then of course with that culture, there arises actually some misconception, what is calling like some beliefs and some beliefs and a myth around our societies. So the first question is, when you say, for example, like we're supposed to sit as women and men and ask, for example, men, what do you want? We want to know about you. See, sometimes that is not practical, you see, because you realize all these men have got moms, have got aunts, as in every man has gone through a hand of a lady, you see. So it starts with us. For example, when you are raising that kid, are you going to raise that kid in a sense that is going to grow up knowing, hey, as a man, I'm supposed to be this way, you get? And in fact, it drags to the issue that the naysayers always raise some objections to the rape issues or the rape culture. And the first one is, they say, even men are raped, you get? Yeah. And they try to justify and say, the reason as to why you don't see these cases, but there are statistics of course. For example, you realize in 2017, between the age of 15 and 49, there was 6% of the victims were male, then about 35 were female, you get. So you realize that some men are also actually prone to this act, but by the reason that men are actually raised to know, like, if you actually found guilty, or if you're found victim of that, then they start doubting your masculinity. You get?
Yeah.
Because you are
experience the stigma.
exactly. So those stereotypes of masculinity, we justify the act sexually we do. We use the acts actually to justify our masculinity. So we can actually change the upbringing, the social construct, to change the entire society. But saying like we sit on a table and negotiate, that sometimes is not practical.
No, let me get back to you. When I say we need to talk, you see what we are doing here? We are having this conversation, right? That is what I mean. We need to have these kind of conversations within our homes, within our churches, within our institutional, our government institutions. You hear me? So that when you're a young man, even when we have a generation that is coming behind us, right? They grow up knowing that here is where you draw the line. This and this is wrong. Am I communicating? That is what I meant, all right? It's not like I'm saying conversations are at face value, all right? And then when you come back to, I believe the rape culture is promoted with a number of factors.
Okay, so let me cut you short. That is short. Hey, the Louism in me. Wait, check it, producer. Sorry. So let me cut you short, Teddy, and then Victor Pierre Tombi.
I think on matters consent to marital sex, it's a very thin line where you can't even complain about rape, marital rape. You can't complain about marital rape because even in real rape cases, there is really hard time for a victim to convince the court she was raped or he was raped. It's very hard. And you find that even true cases of rape, the perpetrators go scot-free. It's very hard to convince the court and give evidence on that. I think some matters we can use other mechanisms to solve them because there is a lot of there are a lot of constellations on matters law in regards to gender-based violence. So I think we can use some other ways to solve such kind of an issues. We can use anthropological ways to talk about marital sex, so that it should be something we can talk from a social point of view, a social construct. We don't have to rely on law since it's something very, very complicated.
I have something to my friend. Of course, I agree with him in part. I agree with him, like there are a lot of challenges actually which accrue when it comes to maybe handling the issues of sexual violence issues or gender-based violence issues. And of course the first one we know, well, where I don't agree with him is that we can maybe have these issues not dealt with law. All these things are legal issues. How are you going to deal with them without law? Anyway, that aside, we can of course argue. I agree with him, but there are a lot of challenges. Real life example, we don't have a best post-rape care. Like we don't give the victims a good care. And instead of actually giving them a good care, you hear them being victimized, being blamed for the same. That is why you find most people don't in fact report. And of course, another actually another impediment to a good cause in rape or such related acts is you realize, for example, you can only adduce evidence that is actually collected within 3 days of an act. So if that act or if that investigation is delayed by some of the officers do delay, by the way, they delay that investigation and you realize it surpasses 3 days. After 3 days, there is no, because you realize the evidence in rape case actually relied upon, for example, the pubic hair, the remains, the semen, and everything. So after 3 days, the medical evidence cannot actually be used actually, because you cannot actually you not be able to get that evidence from the victim. Yeah. So I agree the frustrations which come by the investigation is actually also a good challenge.
Nice. Let me respond to that. I didn't say we should do away with the law on that. The law is there, but since Emmanuel has not solved the issue, so we can have the law and still back it up with other social ways. But not is saying that there is no post-rape care. There are very good mechanisms on sexually assaulted victims done by International Rescue Committee. They are very well put. It's a document, like 100 pages document. All these organizations adopted them. We have conventions on elimination of all forms of violence, on all forms of discrimination. So we have all these steps on matters law, but you can also use other ways to solve them.
All right.
Yes.
So let's hear from Lena.
Okay. So number one is our constitution really tries to protect the institution of marriage. And it's really hard, as you said, to adduce evidence when it comes to matters of marital rape. Because, people will fear speaking out, that is number one. And also the other challenge that you said. But my main point is this. I feel like we are already set in a society that believes that women are definitely, when you get into marriage, it is, you have to submit. And even submission, that kind of submission comes when it comes to matters of sex. And so that time, and also at that time, ladies did not used to work. You were just being a housewife, taking care of the kids and all that. But nowadays, that ladies have come up and they are working. But sometimes you are so tired. You can't submit to the act of sexual intercourse. You come home, you're so tired. But you are stressed out as well because of the work, So I think it's time now we started looking at marital rape. It's time now we started considering that, there could be possibility of marital rape. Yeah.
All right.
Can I just add something on that? It's a steep slope if we are to go our way, because I see a lot of marriages breaking. But anyway, this is what I'm saying. I agree with what my colleagues are saying, all right? But I just want to go back to what I was saying, and she has actually given me a very strong basis of what I want to say. I think it's just who you are as a person, all right? And that's why I was insisting. Women and men alike need to take time to do some discovery about ourselves. I can tell you one thing for sure. A lot of men and women outside here barely know even their bodies, how they respond to some kind of this type of, let me call it, no, when it comes to sex, all right? So there are a lot of gaps. So this is what I'm saying. If you're a married man, and I know I might get a lot of backlash for this, because that's the society we live. The older folks believe that until you get to a certain age, then you have absolutely no right to comment on certain things. But this is what I'm saying. It's high time men take time to understand women, all right? Let's put aggression aside, and let me not use the word sensitive. I lack a word, but let me just say sensitive, all right? Let's be sensitive to each other's needs. If she wakes up in one day and she says, you know what, today I'm not in the mood, all right? Whether you're a man or a woman, just respect that. I mean, it won't kill you. Going kuhata hiyo kitu for a day, you won't die, all right? There are people who have been celibate their whole lives and they're still normal human beings. So what I'm saying is this, especially in the context of concept in marriage, all right? Let's just create a kind of harmonized understanding, all right? Don't force it, you know? And that also brings me to comment on this issue of you take a lady out, and then you know very well she's intoxicated, and then you want to take advantage of it. Bro, stop that. You know, it's really irresponsible, all right?
And you say if the consent wasn't given before she went tipsy, don't touch it.
And that's why I keep insisting. It narrows down to personality, who you really are. You know, let's just strive to do the right thing, all of us, all right? You go out with a lady, you know very well she's not in her, right frame of mind, and then you take advantage, and then later on, when things like go south, the defense will be like, we were both drunk.
All right, hold that. I would like us to come back to that point after the short commercial break. So, guys, we were discussing the fabric of the social fabric of the society, like from one pillar to the other, and we are just talking about rape and gender-based violence among our counterparts, families, like schools and stuff like that. So, after the short commercial break, we'll come back and continue with more discussion. If you disagree with Teddy, or if you agree with any of us, or you disagree with us, you can contact us. Tell us what you feel. Comment down there, or as well you can WhatsApp us what you think. What's your view on the topic? Our number, of course, is 0720091757. And Mother, keep it locked.
Men can't be trusted.
Cheers, bro. Bitches and shit.
And I can't introduce my guy.
Not only
to
men
my
can.
God.
Mimi niliintroduce demu yangu kwa bozi. Akaenda na mbogi.
This is Alex Ochango, you call me Mr. G.
Peace, y'all. Cake balls.
Alright guys, welcome back. Hey, when we went for the short commercial break, Manze, let me tell you, it worked fire. And now that fire, I want to translate it into motto in English. Right here on set, it's Gamers Entertainment Youth Corporation. We talk about everything, of course. We'll be real and interact the things that they are. So guys, before we went for the break, we were discussing things about gender-based violence, rape. And they say, if you take a lady out, no matter how sexy she is, if the consent wasn't given before she went tipsy, don't lay your finger on it. Leave it. Leave it. So guys, okay, when we started this talk, we started by going back, digging deep to what has been trending of late on social media about the KU student who was allegedly murdered, because we are not sure. Are you sure? Then like I said, we're sure, because we've got lawyers. So allegedly murdered by a sponsor. So we are coming back to that. But before that, Teddy, you were saying something. Malaysia, junajua kuna mtu anaban mali, and strictly 1 minute to 1 minute each.
Okay, here's my 1 minute. I was saying, if she's intoxicated, she's not in her frame mind, bro, stay off. Achana nayo. That's it.
Kama wewe pia uko tipsy?
Pia.
And vice versa, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be vice versa.
Okay. I have argument. I think it's the three-pronged. First, I actually want to tell men that don't take out ladies if you don't want to. Don't give her money if you don't want to. Don't allow her to actually feed on your salary, which you feel you've actually heinously earned if you don't want to. You see, ladies, let me tell you, by the way, even your fathers give you with an expectation.
Bro, when you say, let me tell you, ladies,
the problem is I'm usually objective, and I usually talk to the world.
Yeah, sure.
So let me tell you guys, and ladies in particular, even your father sometimes give you the expectation that there is a time that I'll get to now reap from where I was sowing. You get? So you see, for example, if you find a man who gives you money, he has some expectations, you see. And like ladies who cannot actually buy sex, I tell you, guys can buy it. And when he gives you money, he has some expectations. Let's close that chapter. You talk of consent.
Do you mean all men? Do you mean all men?
Not all men.
Thank you.
Let me use a adage of thumbs and fingers. All thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs.
Yeah.
So on the issue of consent, actually, I agree with you, by the way, because for you to qualify that you do a consent from someone, there's some setup. You get? For example, there has to be mental capacity. He has to have some mental capacity. So if someone is actually being intoxicated, then you cannot draw consent from that aspect. You get? So I agree with you. But then there's some myth around the issue of consent, about especially the gender, the ladies actually. Men say, for example, her silence sometimes namanishanga. Yes, you get. That is where you go wrong. Can you speak up? Say no to me, no. You get. Don't be shy, or don't keep quiet, because these men are sometimes funny, by the way. I realize, like, for example, you just say, you just quiet, you will draw consent. You get? And at times also, I advise ladies, if you realize you're going out, maybe to, of course, to a bars or something, carry your friend, a loyal friend with you. If an extra lady, she'll watch over, by the way, you get? For example, the case we are talking presently, you know that the lady tried to invite a colleague. You get? She tried to tag a colleague, but maybe the lady was not around, so she couldn't tag her. So actually working on assumption, maybe was the lady around, that couldn't happen. So encourage ladies to also be tagging along.
You know, that's also a different conversation in itself. The do's and don'ts when going out for a date. Maybe we do
Can I
it
talk
another
on the
day.
aspect of being a lady in this matter?
Yeah.
The issue of communication, or rather understanding, is a very big issue.
Yeah.
And you see, for personally, if a man gives me money, I will not think that he expects anything from me. Like, today you get me a flower, or you get me something sweet, and you bring me a gift. For me, I'll just take it. This guy is just trying to be nice. Yeah, exactly. But for them, you see, they expect something in return. That is the issue.
They always do.
That is it. And you see, another issue is that there's this statement, or rather, I don't know how to call it, that I've been told by many guys, like, you see, ladies, mko tu hivi. Like, when I take her out, definitely ananipea. Seriously, me, when you take me out, you don't expect that now, on the fact that you took me out, to come and just sleep with you.
But tell us, when you're accepting like to be taken out, what do you also expect?
Yeah.
What,
Expectation.
in terms of what?
Do you understand? Like, when I'm taking you out, like, I definitely, maybe as a guy, I expect to lay you, right? So when mwenyewe ukikubali kutag along na mimi kwenda out, and maybe say we are not dating, we are not brother and sister, what do you expect? What is in your mind?
And you know the secondary characteristics.
Yeah, do you
of
always
adolescent?
have to,
You see?
do you think about, like...
Let me tell you, Alex.
Yes.
I have been invited by guys on dates, and the moment that I tell them no, they're like, but it's just a friendly date. Like, why are you thinking beyond that?
Yeah.
And so, like, you see, guys, once you tell them no, they always like, but you thought so far, And once you keep quiet again, they're like, but I thought that your silence means yes. And that is where the issue of understanding each other comes from.
An anchor to argument, by the way. I think as men we always go wrong, and you see we try to validate the mantra that guys are persuaders of sex and women are conquests. You get? You see, when you say, for example, that when a man gives a lady something, there's an expectation, then that is justification of an objectification of ladies. You get? Which is very wrong. Like, we should try to dispel this notion or anything.
And you know, all this gets down to gender roles.
Yeah.
We should be blind to gender roles. It should not be when you go somewhere, and then, for example, you're supposed to get out of here, and then you expect her to do away with the glasses. It should not be like that. It should be blind to gender roles. And like I saw the other day, a woman boxing the husband thoroughly. And then at the end of that video, the woman was saying, mimi ndio mwanaume kwa hii nyumba. Unafaa kulipa nyumba na kununua chakula. Who said that's the man's role?
Oh.
Yes, it should not be like that.
I mean, you box me, then you're like...
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, if you look at our society, like, today, there's been a very significant, like, shift in the dating scene today. And I think those are one of the major conversations we need to have, all right, as a society, because times have really changed. Women today are really empowered more than they were centuries ago, all right? And then men are also at a point where they don't know how exactly to deal with these empowered women, all right? So that is one of the conversations we really need to have, okay? And one thing that men really, this is just a reality check. This is one thing that men need to accept, all right? Times have really changed. So it's either we move with the time, or we still we still get stuck, all right? We still get stuck on the same practices that we were brought up to believe that they should be there, all right? Times have really changed. Today, women pay bills. They house men who are just sitting in their house women are paying bills, women are fueling their own car, women are literally taking over the roles of men. Then in such a case, all right, how can we come up as a society and say, okay, now this is where now we are, this is the reality. Now how do we live past that point? I think that is also a conversation that we really need to have as a society.
And Mr. Alex, just to quickly make a response to that, by then he said a point earlier on that, for example, if you are having a conversation around sex, especially before elders,
Yeah, sure.
you'll be cast,
Yeah.
you'll be condemned.
Yeah.
And actually what I'm preferring is that we have some sexual education. You see, the current setup of education system, particularly in Kenya, it's kind of conservative.
Exactly.
Kenyans think, actually, yes, those who make the system and everything think, by us introducing some
This
of these
education.
is exactly education, we are making our kids very vulnerable and prone to
But
these
these
things.
kids,
You get?
they're doing
Which
the
is,
act.
yes, which
They're
is not
doing.
true, because this education system, actually, the one I'm saying, like I'm preferring, is it will entail the teachings of equality.
Yes.
You see, he talks of empowerment, but I say there is no empowerment ongoing. You see, giving a prejudiced advantage over someone is not empowering someone. It's just giving me an advantage over another person. That is not empowerment. Education, sexual education will entail teaching about gender equality. Let's give each other an equal opportunity. If it's employment, you can employ a lady, you can employ a man. If it's issues like, for example, rape, anyone can be a victim.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
bring them and face the issues.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I very much agree with you.
I'm not, you talked.
All right. Ladies first.
So I want to talk especially on the issues of rape, that anyone can be raped. We have cases of men being raped,
Sure.
and that is true. And the issue that comes is that men are not so good in communication or fighting for their rights. You'll see, once we discovered about Velvet's case, ladies, we started,
Talking.
talking about it. And,
They just talked. By the way, I didn't mention this. When we went for the break, she mentioned something that ladies say. Something that actually I think that is what brings up this issue of gender wars. Like all men are potential rapists.
Yeah.
When men hear that, you see,
Yeah.
it's evident.
It's soiling the name of other good
Anyway,
men
proceed.
out there.
yeah.
Ladies stormed social media.
Yes, ladies stormed. We started defending the lady. Now that is the issue that doesn't happen with men. And you see, the moment that we started defending, that is now when guys also take their case up.
Yeah.
We are defending, but then they want to take their case up and start saying, even men face this. Why did you not defend those victims?
Let me
Why
tell you
did you
one
not talk about
Let
it?
me tell you one thing about men. I don't like being this serious, but he mentioned something before, like when a man is raped, or maybe say sodomized, the reason why they feel like I can't talk is because they fear the stigma that it comes with. When I go outside and say that, excuse me, I was raped, people start questioning my manhood nature.
You'll even
And
be
Mr.
really
Alex,
for
Mr.
it.
Alex, let me tell you, it is not even most ladies who question that. The people who question that is
Men.
the fellow men.
Men, yeah.
Yeah, so the
That
issue
is the problem also. Men get ridiculed because we have been raised in a society where, like, patriarchy is so strong that there are even definitions of what makes a man and what not makes a man. And I think these are kind of practices that we should really, some of them we should abandon, okay? Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We get hurt, we have blood running in our veins, we feel pain. And so when something that is inhuman happens to like somebody else, then I think we should just be conscious enough to address it on the basis of humanity, and we leave the gender aspect.
All right. So Teddy, there's this thing that Nani mentioned, Hezbon. I don't know. Bu mentioned tena juu alikuwa na maasira zingine.
Yes, I was actually trying to tell you guys, by I need your indulgence on this. While we are talking of don't blame victims, but how about this? Look, do you think that this lady actually knew that this guy is married? Don't you think that this guy also knew that he's married and he shouldn't actually engage in this act? Don't you think that this lady knew they are going to book for a lodging? And what happens in a lodging? Card playing? FIFA? So this lady actually has to be blamed, and the guy also has to be blamed. And that actually qualifies that a rape case is not a gender It's not a one gender.
Let me start by
Yes.
indulging, because you asked us to do that.
Yes.
Okay, we know that whatever happens in the lodging, according to us, stereotypically, it's something that kwa lodging tukienda ni mauano. That's what we believe. No, ni mauano, but not literally killing someone.
Yeah.
You see, they went to the lodging, yes. Wote tukianza kusema like now we bring them now on this level of spirituality and stuff like that. They both messed up. They are sinners. Udema ameenda na mtu mwenye ameolewa, no? Mtu ameolewa amecheat on bibi yake na mtoto wa shule. But literally hata kama ni kwenda kwa lodging, this man has absolutely no right to have killed the lady. That's my point.
Yeah, actually, just a quick one. Actually, what I wanted you guys to see, like, for example, the backlashes which you actually witnessed on Twitter and other social medias they were blaming a gender. You get?
Yeah,
like they were blaming a male gender. That is why I'm coming down and saying it's not all about gender. It's, you see, while people say like women face emotional and psychological issues, rape issues actually the impact is faced by both gender. So let's not make it a gender issue, but make it a societal issue. What is the construct of a society? The culture of rape in Kenya is what we need to work on. Yes.
All right. So
And I actually, I really want to correct that on something. We have not yet established that it was rape.
yeah.
Number one, because you know the girl going there could be consent of her being there. The issue that we really had is the point of this man killing this girl and breaking her spine. Whoever
That's the
did
point.
that, who can do that surely? We can't see that. You can't blame that actually because they had sex until the spine, broke. How is that even possible?
What went wrong?
Yeah. So
What
we,
went wrong?
Yeah, the medical report actually revealed she had some breakages
Yeah.
in her cervix.
yeah.
So you know what was going on there. You get? So it could maybe be the rape. It could be a consented.
Some people said that maybe it could be the rape way, and then the guy got physical because the lady was not consenting. So through that physical stuff, it manipulated.
And you
into
see
that.
also, there was also report by the police that you see, the man could be an accomplice in terms of that they were colliding with the hotel, such that there was a third party that was involved, and therefore it could not be that Murimi killed the lady. Could be that someone from the hotel. You see, so
Well,
that issue is a bit complicated.
It's a whole new, like So guys, let's because it's still something that's an investigation. So I wouldn't need to want us to delve so much into that because we don't have that information. But according to what has just been put out in the public, that's what you're trying to give our opinions like based on. So now we've talked about one or two pillars that are involved in maybe making the social fabric of the society. Now I want us to come back to this thing that I met somewhere in a post, maybe in Phoenix, whereby a teacher was arrested for taking advantage of a student in a swimming pool. You know, we talk about the social upbringing of the society and stuff like that. We might be blaming domestic problems like GBV, rape issues. But now this is someone who, because you're talking about education, right? Like giving sex education. But now this is a teacher taking advantage of a student. How do you term that? Let me start with Victor.
That is very unfortunate, and such kind of circumstances should not really take it as a teacher and a student. Should take it as a criminal. Yeah, that the victim. Criminal and a victim. That he went ahead and manipulated the situation, and he forced himself on this young lady, and he should face the full wrath of the law.
Unajua by the way, bado imagine ni kwa swimming pool. Kwa swimming pool. Unajua watu wengine wamekosa adabu.
But you see also, we have to deal with that matter very critically because look, we could ruin the demeanor of the teachers because the teachers are the one which we are bestowing them the power to do the sexual education. So much as we are saying, for example, that this teacher did it, we're supposed to deal with that issue uniquely. Like you're supposed to deal with that teacher like as an individual.
As an isolated
Yeah, don't now say like teachers are raping like students. And that is why we are supposed to bring some of these our media houses. You see, the way they do the reportings, they are painting a bad picture. You find now students can even fear their teachers. You get? Because you see like teachers are raping. You get? And another thing you're supposed to blame sometimes is the union. Like for example, what happens when a teacher is actually is actually reported to have raped a kid. There was a case in Moi Girls High School. I think it was in 2015 or 2013 actually, where a teacher had been allegedly raped a girl. It turned out like, actually, the union, the NAT actually came out strongly to defend the teacher. That was the first move it did, to defend the teacher on that issue. You get? So what does that show us? And you see, this union, the NAT actually, is one of the agencies we expect to
be strict.
Exactly, to be strict and actually infer some, give some stringent measures against such acts. So we're supposed to look ourselves as a society, what are we doing on that?
Let me support that. I think gender should be a very interesting subject that should be taught by very many people. Like there was a case in St. Kizito in Meru. It happened in 13th of July 1991, St. Kizito story, where there was a strike and then girls failed to join the boys. So 71 girls were raped in their dormitories, and 19 of them lost their lives. So when the principal came to speak, he said that that one, it happens in their school. The girl, yes, it happens. The boys, yes, takes the girls to a bush and then do their thing, and then it goes. So were it not for people to lose their lives, it could not have come out. And the deputy principal, a lady, when she was being interviewed, she said that the boys didn't have anything bad. They only wanted to rape the girls.
Wait, what?
That is what the deputy principal said.
Hear that, you hear that, and that tells you like where we have gotten as a society. You know, we are normalizing things that should not even be normalized. All right, because you know, rape culture is becoming something that society is accepting, of which should not be the case. All right, because what happens to a 14-year-old who is defiled and still has a life ahead of them? If this person is a lady, she'll grow to hate men for the rest of her life. And we have not even talked about the trauma of this act itself, all right? So, and actually that is what is happening. Most of rape victims or survivors grow up in that kind of environment where they're not comfortable with men.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
True.
So it also comes back to bite us. We are raising girls and women who, in their mind, men are in a certain way. That's the perception, of which it's very dangerous. I might have never raped somebody, all right? But it worries me when somebody else thinks on me, thinks about me as a rapist.
My final thoughts on that, a quick one. She mentioned something in passing and I want to bring it on. She said like all men are potential rapists.
Yeah.
And actually it connects. There is a thin line between that statement and whatever is I trying to say. You see, when bringing up kids, for example, we are told to instill virtues in these people. So if that what you're instilling in kids is that, you see, all these men are potential rapists. So you see that girl is growing up with a negative mind. So you're actually not helping the society. It's supposed to be preventive. So instead of telling them this and this, what are you supposed to do to the boys? Like build up the boys to have to be good people in the society, so that you don't have to tell the kids that this and this. And again, when you say like all men are potential rapists, then that is already an acceptance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
That's what you say. That
we've accepted.
We have to come back to this, to like a city, you know, try to redefine like gender roles.
Yeah.
Because you see, when you start giving your kid that kind of notion that all men are potential rapists, mtoto akigrow up, wale tunaenda shule pia, they tell the teacher, because you know in primary when wanapangana kwa desk, you hear the lady saying, mimi mamangu aliniambia usinike na mvulana.
Yeah,
You see that mindset. Yes. Now this lady grows up with that mentality, like men are not good people. So it narrows down. So let me hear your say on this issue of this teacher or this criminal.
Let me correct what Hezbollah has said.
Okay.
I did not say that all men are potential rapists. I said it's a statement that has been coming up and which I do not conform to. Let it be known that, again,
just like they say that all men are dogs. And then someone comes and asks you, if I brought a group of dogs here, then told you point your dad, Would you? Yeah, so it's a notion that it's absolutely out of topic.
Okay. I would like both men and ladies to know that if someone is below the age of 18, they cannot give consent.
Yeah, sure.
And whether they say yes or no, that does not count.
Yes.
If you, let me just say, if you really feel like with this ornament, you know, it pisses off to hear kwa news ati mzazi amerape mtoto wa miaka mitatu, pastor amerape mtu amerape. Like there's this story that was happening, was trending juicy, like a grandpa, I don't know in what part of Central, alirape mtoto, and then there's someone who was busy filming this act.
You see?
Na namuuliza unafanya nini na mtoto?
And you're feeling.
You know, mtu mwana nafuili wa kwanza anafaa kutandikwa viboko. So if you really feel like wewe jinga yako imekoka kwa kulala na mtoto mwenye bado ako chini ya 18, haiwezi kupata consent. Enda kwa mzazi wake, mwambie mzazi wake nataka kulala na mtoto wako.
Hey,
if you're man now. If you're man now. Yeah, that's the point.
So,
I think
Mr. Alex,
I'm alternative.
Mr. Alex, it really saddens me that the people who have the responsibility of protecting the children are the ones who are taking advantage of them.
Yes.
And you see, there was a story of a young lady who was a Muslim who came out and said that when I was at this age, below the age of 18, I went to a shop and a man came and started acting in a way that he wants to rape me. And the shopkeeper, who was also a man, told the lady, "Mpetu, it's just 1 minute."
what?
There was also a story of a lady who was while young, a grandpa used to tell her, you see, I want you to suck your boobs so that they can become big. And this lady, out of ignorance, because she's young, she doesn't know. She's like, okay, do it, you know.
Security.
I am actually an author of a magazine called The Rise of a Woman. And I have listened to the stories of young people who have been sexually abused at a young age. And what they used to tell me is, you know, I allowed him to do so because I always thought that adults are right. Yeah. And I am young, I don't know what to do. So another thing that I feel that we should do is we should go out there, especially to the villages, and try to tell these young ladies, if you see a man try to do this or doing this, it is wrong.
Education.
They are not right at all.
And that's what I was saying. These are conversations that needs to start from our family setup, all right? Because the basic tenets of a community starts within the family. So we start these conversations from our homes, we extend them to our neighborhoods, all right? And then it becomes a national conversation, a regional conversation, a global conversation, yeah. Okay? So that you, when you educate these people and you bring these young men or ladies knowing that their boundaries, this is what is wrong and this is what is right. And then somebody grows up to know that this is what is expected of me and this is what is not expected of me. And then one thing I want to reiterate is also the issue of why people always claim that why are rape victims always silent, all right? And here's the interesting thing. Most people who have been subjected to rape, all right, they have been put in a point where they were very vulnerable. Yeah. In the case of, and I liked what she said, if you look keenly at all these cases, these young people are saying
they thought adults were right.
What does that tell you? There was some kind of an advantage, all right, that played there. So it's either, if it's a man, it's because his masculinity, the way he's structured to be, his physique, he's stronger than the woman, all right? Or maybe she was in a kind of an emotional situation, okay? If it was a kid, it was because this is my teacher, this is my pastor, I trust him, you know, exactly. This is my dad, this is my uncle, all right? And then we have always been, as African children, we have been brought up in an environment where older folks are always right, okay? Yeah. And you don't challenge that, all right? But I'm glad with this generation of millennials because these days we don't just accept everything. And we challenge decisions, we challenge concepts, we challenge ideas, and as a result, we have been branded as rebellious, we have been branded as entitled, and so it's a culture that it's changing, but we are not there still, all right? So when that question of why can they always speak up? It's because this person was placed in a situation where somebody, there was something that put them on a corner that they could not like stand up for themselves. So I think that is very, very important. Ni kitu yenye we need to know. All right?
No,
Yeah.
but on that, I think there's nothing that will help you if you don't speak up. If you are raped or if something happens to you, however bad it is, you have to speak up.
Let me tell you one thing. It's not a matter of you have to speak up. You see the trauma. Actually, we are brought up in a setup whereby nikiongea kuhusu sex, like I'm not free as an African. I'm not free to talk to my parents about sex. So imagine you are defiled when mtoto na mamako ameshinda yikwambia nikikupata na ule, like a mom seeing you stand along the road with a man or just a boy, nikiboko. Like you are not supposed to talk about sex. Then you are defiled. One, you don't even know how you're going to break this news to your parents.
Yeah. Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And you have to go see a therapist. Now you can't disclose it to your parent. How would you trust somebody else? That's what I'm saying. That's why you were saying sex education.
Education.
I know this conversation lazima itaenda mbio, itaenda mingi, like tutamaliza. So I would appreciate if I gave you like 1 minute each, like, as you give up your wrap up, of course, yeah.
Thank you. They don't fail to speak out of will. I've heard stories of people who have probably gone through rape. Those people, you get to a point such that you are so low that you can't speak. And the worst of all is when you are sexually abused by your parents. Who will you speak to? Utaambia nani? Who will you talk to about that? You see, your dad is a provider. You are afraid, if I speak out, my education is cut off. I will not, who will provide for me and all that. So,
especially in this era where even police officers who are trusted.
But I will continuously blame our parents for giving us, bringing us in an environment whereby I can't talk freely to you.
Yeah.
I will continuously blame my parents. And personally, if I become a parent, I'm gonna bring them upright in the right way.
There is nothing. So in a bit to give my final remarks, actually, I want to maybe counter his statement. I agree with him by the 99.99%. But then the last statement or the final thoughts, like, okay, like there's no problem with people, okay, like the society having people's perception that elders are always right. Let me tell you, but in fact it's good. Like if the society itself was that elders are good and you embrace that goodness, then it's okay. The problem is that we are deemed to be good, but we don't walk that goodness. Yes. That is the challenge. Yes. So my final thoughts are, the first one is that, and it's always said, it was said by Lady Gaga during her performance in 2016 in the USA actually. She said this statement that unless it happens, or unless it hits you, that was actually the name of the performance. So unless it hits you, can never see the pain of it. So let's not wait until it hits us before we start speaking. Another thing, let's actually embrace the culture of speaking up. And we as young ones, let us talk to our parents, because I know at my age I can talk to my grandmother, I can talk to my parents and tell them, no, if my younger sister brother come to you to this issue, listen to her. These are the life issues they are facing. Right. Another third point is, the last one maybe, is let us not take the issue of gender-based violence, the issue of sexual violence, and any other related issues as a one gender issue. Yes. Let's take collectively as a societal issue and change our social construct. Thank you.
All right, because I'm being told it's 1 minute to wrap up. Let me hear from Victor.
I think on matter of speaking up in clinical care for sexually assaulted victims, it is advised to speak up. It is the first step that can help you in healing. So it is advised.
All right.
Take note.
All right, so guys, I believe nobody has having any burning issues, so I'll just wind it up. Like, it was very nice having you guys today. Like Manze, today the conversation was awesome, informative, and educating. So guys, this is Gamers Youth Talk Show, and today with me, my guest, to look to discuss about matters revolving around rape. So don't go far. Subscribe, like, share, comment. If you disagree with us in any way, comment down there. If you agree with us, let's join the movement and speak up against rape cases, gender-based violences, domestic violence in our home state and stuff like that. Na pamoja tuendeleze inchi na maendeleo daima. So guys, thank you very much. This was a guy, Mr. G, Alex Ochango. Stay locked.